You're joining us today. Uh, Commercial fishermen, understandably nervous here. The Chinese have announced that 25% tariff on live Florida lobster heading to China. What do you make of this? They're not happy with this situation.
I certainly understand, and I think all of us should at least have mixed feelings about these tariffs. Number one, we do know that the Chinese are abusive when it comes to trade. We know that they undermine the world economy. They take advantage not just of our country, but of many others. They use cheap labor. I mean, it's just very difficult for American companies and manufacturers to compete with them. That's certainly true, and I certainly support efforts to hold them accountable to try to kind of level the playing field so that American companies and American workers aren't undermined by the Chinese. Now, at the same time, when we have tariff policies that aren't targeted, that are excessively broad, that also hurts American consumers and, in this case, fishermen, commercial fishermen. So what we have asked the administration is to come up with a targeted policy to make sure that we hold the Chinese accountable for stealing our intellectual property, which they do regularly, for forcing American companies who do business in China to essentially hand over their intellectual property, any formulas they may have for their products, whatever it is. But at the same time, to try to protect American consumers and our fishermen and farmers and others from a potential trade war. When there's a trade war, Bill, everyone loses because everyone ends up paying more for the products that they need or that they want. So we're working on that. The other set of tariffs that I am certainly opposed to are those that have been imposed on our allies, on Canada, on Mexico, on the European Union. Those countries do have labor laws, environmental laws. They respect American companies that are doing business in their countries. So we, picking a fight with them, I don't think is smart, and certainly raises, again, costs for American consumers. So I hope before this gets worse, before this escalates, we can certainly find an agreement with our allies, with the Canadians, the Mexicans, and the Europeans, and find an approach with the Chinese that is targeted, that is specific, and that hopefully leads to an understanding and an agreement that protects American companies and interests and can eliminate these tariffs for American producers like the commercial fishermen, especially this slimy lobster fishery, which is so profitable for the Florida Keys. So it's complicated, it's difficult, but I think we can do better than what we're doing now.
But we all know that President Trump does not like to back down, does not like to admit that he's wrong. Is any possibility he's going to back off this, or just this trade war going to escalate?
Well, he doesn't necessarily have to back down. What he has to do, and what his trade representative has to do, Ambassador Lighthizer, is find an agreement, get certainly our allies to the table, and try to rearrange some of their trade policies and practices for our mutual benefit, and then with the Chinese, try to score some wins on intellectual property, perhaps on some of the tariffs they have on our products before this all started, and then get back to normal, hopefully. So it's not a matter necessarily of backing down; it's trying to score some wins and then moving on.
Okay. Let's switch gears to the president's Supreme Court appointment. Yesterday, announced it last night in a televised announcement. What do you think of this? Where's it going to go?
Bill, from everything I can tell, this is a highly qualified individual. a little connection to Miami. It turns out that he represented Elian Gonzalez's U.S. relatives pro bono back in the year 2000. That caught my attention. Of course, this is not in our wheelhouse in the U.S. House. This is a Senate issue. They will have to take up this nomination now. But from what I can tell, Mr. Kavanaugh has a good chance of getting approved by the Senate. I saw a statement from Senator McCain, who's certainly a centrist, praising the pick, and I think other moderate Republican senators have made positive statements as well. So that does bode well for Mr. Kavanaugh. Again, on the qualifications, it looks like he is, highly talented, a strong legal mind. So we'll see how this unfolds in the Senate. But from the early reports here, I think it's a type of pick that has a good chance of getting approved.
Okay. You were being in Washington, unable to attend last night's hometown candidates forum. The three other candidates there for your seat there all came out and talked about the issue of gun control. So a wide variety of opinions on that. Wanted to get your thoughts on gun control, particularly a ban on assault weapons. What do you think?
Bill, I think that Florida provided the country with a wonderful model of what can be done to strengthen our gun laws so that we respect the Second Amendment rights of lawful gun owners, which is most Americans, and we do everything possible to keep guns out of the hands of those who have the intention of hurting others or of hurting themselves. So I've embraced an agenda here in Washington, D.C. that includes 72-hour waiting period for gun purchases. It includes banning bump stocks. It includes raising the minimum age for gun purchases from 18 to 21, all guns. Those are the types of initiatives that are going to keep people safer. I also support taking some of these military-style guns off the streets. Now, assault weapons bans, which we had one in place for 10 years in our country, scientifically aren't proven to be as effective as some of these other measures in terms of preventing these mass shootings. Columbine, after all, did occur during the last assault weapons ban. So I do think that some of these weapons are too potent. That's why I support the bump stock ban, because it actually turns a legal semi-automatic weapon into essentially an illegal automatic weapon. So certainly we should do more to curtail the potency of some of these weapons. But I think the most effective measures are those that were approved in Florida. In addition to that, one that wasn't approved in Florida that I support at the federal level is a universal background check. Anyone purchasing a weapon should have to be run through the background check system. There should be no loopholes in that system as they do exist today. So
okay.
Certainly this is an issue that, of course, as the memory fades of the last massacre, which sadly was in our state, people stop talking about, but we shouldn't, because we know that this may well happen again, and the more we can do to prevent the loss of innocent life, the better.
Congressman Carlos Curbelo, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.
You'll have a good day, Bill.
Okay, bye now. It is 8:30.